Hello everyone! Welcome back to Reading Through the Generations. I'm Precious and it's that time of month again, mid-month book bash. So I'm here with my second vlog, and since it's Jane Austen July, I thought we could celebrate by reading some of her lesser known works, as well as try a new bookish game. And I have this really fun Jane Austen cookbook called the Jane Austen Cookbook by Maggie Black and Deidre LaFay. We've only ever tried a single recipe from this. I think it was the broiled salmon, which was so yummy. We might have to try that again, but I'm looking forward to looking through this again and finding a sweet and a savory dish to make with you all. So if you're unfamiliar with what Jane Austen July is, it's a reading event that's held every July, and it's hosted by Marissa from Blatantly Bookish, Katie from Books and Things, and Claudia from Spinster's Library. And all you have to do is to read a single work by Jane Austen for the month of July. And in the past, when I've had time to participate, I've usually reread one of Jane Austen's 6 main novels because I've been in love with Austen since I was given a copy of Pride and Prejudice back when I was 17 years old. So I love revisiting her heroines. But I think since I'm trying to work on my 50 before 50 book reading list, I really want to read some of her early works. For example, I've never read any of her juvenilia before, nor any of her poetry. I've never even read her novellas, so I'm really hoping to get to some of those. But I also have other books that I'd like to tell you about. So one of the prompts for Jane Austen July is to read a nonfiction about Jane or about the time in which she lived. So I have the Oxford World's Classics, A Memoir of Jane Austen and Other Family Recollections by J.E. Austen Lee. He was actually one of Jane's nephews, and I believe he and his sisters and a few of his cousins write down or tell stories, fond memories of their aunt in this book. So I think this is going to be a wonderful memoir. Then I also have The Real Jane Austen, A Life in Small Things by Paula Byrne. I've heard really great things about this from people I trust who have similar reading taste to mine, so I'm anticipating this. And then one I don't have with me is called Jane and Dorothy by Marion Beavers, and this compares and contrasts the lives of Jane Austen and Dorothy Wordsworth, who I absolutely adore. She unfortunately has been eclipsed in popular memory by her brother. If you've never read Dorothy Wordsworth, go find her journals. They are absolutely beautiful. So what I didn't realize is how close in age they were. Jane Austen was born 4 years before Dorothy Wordsworth. And if they knew each other and were friends, I think I'm gonna flip out, because that is one friend group that I would have given anything to be part of. So this is another nonfiction book that I'm really looking forward to reading if I get a chance to. Then another author that I grew up adoring and reading along with Jane Austen was Joan Aiken, who was another English prolific writer. She wrote hundreds of books. She wrote plays, poetry, books for children, fantasy, historical fiction, horror, you name it, she wrote it. And not many people know that she was a Janeite herself. Jane Austen was perhaps her most beloved author, and she would actually travel the globe speaking to Jane Austen societies about the literary brilliance that was Jane Austen and her world. And not many people know that she wrote really brilliant Jane Austen sequels. So I'm going to share with you my favorites and also tell you about the ones that I've never read before. So the first one being Jane Fairfax. There was a time in my life where I would read this every summer because I love it so much. But in this book, we follow the perspective of Jane Fairfax, who was the mysterious character in Emma. She's the orphan that is raised by Mrs. and Miss Bates, and she has no way to provide for herself, so it's her plan to become a governess. And Emma is quite intrigued by her and a little bit jealous of her. So if you want to learn more about Jane Fairfax, I recommend this one, especially if you're not a big fan of Emma. Another favorite of mine, oh, I don't have it, sorry, is Eliza's Daughter, which follows the illegitimate child between Eliza Williams and John Willoughby. Now, Eliza Williams's mother was Colonel Brandon's first love, and I can't tell you any more than that, but if you love Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte or Dragonwyck by Anya Seton, you will absolutely adore Eliza's Daughter. It's, I think what I love most about Joan Aiken's sequels to Jane Austen's works is that I not only revisit beloved characters, but she has an engaging and gripping storytelling format, and there's so many surprises, twists and turns. Just try them. If you can find them, try them out. Then there's 4 more Joan Aiken sequels that I've never read. So we have Mansfield Revisited, which is a sequel to Mansfield Park. There is this one, Lady Catherine's Necklace, which is a sequel to Pride and Prejudice. There is Emma Watson, which is a sequel to The Watsons, which is an unfinished novel by Jane Austen, as well as The Youngest Miss Ward, and I'm not quite sure which sequel that one is to. But yeah, those are also books that I'm hoping to get to this month. So we're gonna try something new in this vlog. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but we can give it a try. The hens, I'm the most indecisive person since there's so many books that I want to read this month and I just can't choose which one to start with. The hens actually saw that I was distressed and they want to help. So what I did is I put all these books that I'm hoping to get to into a spinner wheel, and I spun it 3 times. So I chose there's 3 options that the hens are going to have to choose from. So for this first round, option 1 is Much Ado About Nada by Uzma Jalaluddin, I believe is her name. And then option 2 is Lady Susan by Jane Austen. And then number 3 is When Mr. Darcy Came to Dinner by Jack Caldwell. So let's go up and say hello to the girls. Which one? Okay, that was number 2. Thank you, Miss Hen. We're good? Thank you, Miss Hen. Hello, I'm back. So I just finished Lady Susan, and I actually really enjoyed it. I don't think I've ever read a book quite like this. It's written in epistolary format, which means that it's all letters, and we get not only Lady Susan's letters that she writes to various acquaintances, but we also get the perspective of mainly her female family members, which I thought was so interesting. It begins with her having to write to some family because she has to leave the house, the people's house that she's been staying with. She's recently been widowed. She's a young, recently widowed young woman who has a 16-year-old daughter, Frederica. And as a reader, you're not quite sure. All you know is that there's been a scandal involving Lady Susan, and you're not sure if it's just gossip or if it's based in fact. So you're kind of learning more about Lady Susan through these series of letters. And she's not, she is an interesting character in that she is flawed and imperfect, which is all I'm going to say, because it's so short. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who wishes to read it. It's very entertaining. I mean, Jane Austen was a keen observer of her surroundings and the society at the time. She really pokes fun at the ridiculousness of humanity, and so it was very, very entertaining, and I think it would make a great book club read just because it addresses some interesting themes, and you could have some wonderful discussions, such as, on the topics of motherhood, female agency, lack of female agency, society's ideals and expectations on women. And to think that Jane Austen probably wrote this when she was 18 years old, and to reflect on the sorts of ridiculous things that I would write when I was that young. She was a child prodigy. There is no doubt about that. Like, I'm dying to know who and what inspired this particular character, because it's a character that a perspective that I never would have even considered when I was that young. And it's reminded me of why I read. I read to learn, to gain new insights into ways of different perspectives and ways of seeing the world. And Lady Susan provided me with that. It's definitely, it's a perspective that I don't think I've ever come in contact with from the classic literature I've read in the past. And I definitely don't think during Austen's time there was a Lady Susan that was written about. So it was very interesting, it was very entertaining, and I gave this one 3.75 stars. Really recommend it. Alright, so we're heading out to see the girls to feed them, and we're going to play round 2 of the Jane Austen July selection game. I have my nasturtium leaves here. So for option 1, we have the Watsons. Option 2, Jane Fairfax. Oh, you can hear them. They know they're about to get fed. They're excited. For option 3, we have Godmersham Park. So let's go say hello to the girls. Which one will it be, girls? Which one? Number 1. So I'll be reading the Watsons. Thanks, girls. So I just finished reading the Watsons, and this one's even shorter than Lady Susan, so I'm really not going to talk in depth about this one since it's so short. But we basically are following the story of, I believe she's 16 or 17 years old, Emma Watson, who has grown up with her wealthy aunt and uncle, and she's been invited back to her home village because her father is very, very ill. And you meet her various siblings. I forget how many she has, but there's at least 3 sisters and 2 brothers. And since she, grew up in the city with some wealth, she is more educated and more broad-minded than her siblings, who have been raised in this very small village and in some poverty. So she feels very guilty and feels estranged from her siblings. And it's a real slice of life kind of story. There's not much plot in this, but it opens up with her being invited to this grand ball because she's making her societal debut. And this ball has my most favorite scene from the book, and I won't spoil it for you. But you really get a sense of the kind of character and heart Emma has. And it was a very quiet story. And if you're familiar with Jane Austen's later works, because I believe she abandoned this novel to work on, Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice. So you'll see similar plot ideas, similar character arcs in this early work, which was very fun. And I think if you've read all of Jane Austen's 6 major novels and you want something new, it's not a waste of time to try this, even though it's very, very short and it's incomplete. So I gave this one 3 stars. Hi everyone, I'm back with some book mail that just came in the post today. Let's open it, shall we? This is from Carol, my mother-in-law, who is so extremely generous. She spoils me all of the time. So Carol, if you're watching, thank you so very, very much from the bottom of my heart. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited! Oh, look at this adorable frog. It is the layman's frog. It is a delicate species and rarely survives for long in captivity. Both parents care for the young. The male guards the eggs, the female carries the tadpoles to tiny pools in bromeliads, hollows in trees, and bamboo stems, and then visits them periodically to feed them on unfertilized eggs. Oh. And it says, "For my favorite booktuber, I love you." How sweet is that? Let's see what she sent. A Child's Garden of Verses by Robert Louis Stevenson, who I love. Oh, I can't believe, oh gosh, it's been decades since I've read this. Oh, I used to borrow this from the library as a child. A Child's Garden of Verses is a book of poetry for children. Stevenson dedicated the poems to his nurse, Cummy, Allison Cunningham, who cared for him during his many childhood illnesses. The collection includes some of Stevenson's most famous poems, including The Land of Counterpane and My Shadow and the Lamplighter. Oh, thank you, Carol. Oh, She Come By It Natural, Dolly Parton and the Women Who Lived Her Songs by Sarah Smarsh. This has been on my wish list for the longest time. Thank you so much, Carol. Oh, I'm the biggest Dolly Parton fan. Oh, I love her so much. Oh, thank you. Oh, another woman that is dear to my heart is Nadia Hussein. I can't believe she sent me this. This is her newest cookbook. Oh my god, let's look at it. See which I flipped to. Oh, Happy Day recipes. Let's see what the first Happy Day recipe is. Irish potato sheet pancakes. Let's flip to another random one. Oh, look how beautiful she is. Oh. Ultimate nut butter stuffed cookies. Oh my gosh, I'm the biggest nut butter fan. Oh my gosh. I'll have to try a few recipes on my next mid-month book bash vlog and prepare it with you all. I'm looking forward to that. Oh, thank you, Carol, so much. And there's another little package that came, but this one's not a surprise because I know what it is. This is the July book club pick for my family's book club. It's by Ash, Oak, and Thorn by Melissa Harrison. I think this is going to be a perfect summertime book. And I started her All Among the Barley book yesterday, and I'm already on page 100, which shows that I'm really enjoying it. She's a lovely writer. If you are a fan of Elizabeth von Arnim or Ella Montgomery, you'll really adore Harrison because it's just so rich in the nature descriptions. It's so lovely. Well, I'll see you in a little bit. Bye-bye. 1, 2, or 3. Guess I should tell you our options. Hi everyone, it's currently Sunday evening and I realized I never gave you my thoughts on the Jane Austen biography that I'm reading, The Real Jane Austen, A Life in Small Things by Paula Byrne. So this is a unique book in that it's an interesting take on the biography genre. It focuses on particular items from Jane Austen's life and work. So each chapter has a central theme based on a particular object. So there might be a chapter on an article of clothing, a family painting, or a piece of jewelry that Jane Austen owned. So it makes for a real intimate reading experience. I feel as though I'm in Jane Austen's home or a museum that celebrates her life, and I have a historian all to myself telling me the stories behind these objects. So it's a very special book. I'm really enjoying it. I knew very little about Jane Austen's life. This is in fact my first biography of hers. And all I really knew going in is that she died very young. She was only 40 or 41 years old. She was a very family-oriented person. She was exceedingly close to all her siblings, but no relationship compared to the one that she had with her sister Cassandra, her older sister, and neither of them married. And I came across this very endearing quote that Cassandra had written after Jane's death. She writes, "I have lost a treasure, such a sister, such a friend as never can have been surpassed. She was the sun of my life, the gilder of every pleasure, the soother of every sorrow. I had not a thought concealed from her, and it is as if I had lost a part of myself." So I think that really is an example and real indicator of the strength of their relationship and bond. So I learned a whole lot about every single one of her siblings, and not just Cassandra. But I also am learning a great deal about her extended family, especially her female cousins and aunts, great aunts, and they were the inspiration behind all her characters, especially in her juvenilia. And I did find out who was the inspiration behind Lady Susan, so that was a real fun chapter. But so far, my most favorite chapter is on the vellum notebooks, of which there's 3 volumes. They were gifts from her father, who really was a source of strength and really motivated her to keep writing and encouraged her to write. So those vellum notebooks are in a safe place. They're at the Bodleian Library, which is on my bucket list of top places to visit one day. And yeah, these notebooks are filled with stories and plays dating back as far as when she was 12 years old. She was writing plays for her family to act and put on as young as 12. So she was definitely a child prodigy. And I have to be honest, I don't really gravitate towards biographies. I think they're a bit intimidating and daunting. But I'm reading through this one pretty fast. I'm at the 1/3 mark, and I didn't get any reading done Saturday because my mom is back in town. She's visiting from Nevada. I don't see her very often, so we had a great time together. So it was mostly from today that I was reading this book, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And if you want to learn more about Jane Austen, you should find a copy of this because it's It's very fascinating. So my plan is to finish the rest of this, but before I sign off, I want to wish you all a very happy and relaxing week ahead. And if you enjoyed this vlog, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content from me, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. Until next time, take good care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.